All right, great. So I'm Erin Wilson. I am part of the Decalogue Women's Committee and the financial secretary for Decalogue. And I'm excited to welcome it's my social media team that does my social media, and they're awesome. So DBC Brand. And we have two speakers today that I'm going to introduce and then turn it over to them. First, we have Faith Anderson, who is a digital marketing strategist specializing in helping lawyers and law firms build powerful brands and grow their online presence. She's led marketing campaigns for national firms and combines expertise in content strategy, social media, and reputation management. Faith is passionate about making legal services more approachable, trusted, and visible in a digital-first world. And we have Amanda Beckrek, who is a digital marketing strategist and chair of the MN Legal Marketing Association and sits on the Legal Marketing Association Regional Conference Communications team. She leads in-house marketing for a boutique law firm where she owns all marketing, specializes in brand presence, reputation management, and campaign strategy. Through her work as a freelance marketer, Amanda also helps other small and solo firms elevate their marketing. Amanda is passionate about capturing film culture and aligning strategy with legal industry's evolving landscape. And like I said, on a personal note, they do my social media management and do a phenomenal job. And I get a ton of compliments about my social media, which is all this team. So I'm excited that they were here today to present to all of you. So with that, I will turn it over to Faith and Amanda.
Great. Thanks so much,
Erin.
Well,
Wait, sorry, one more thing I wanted to say is just if you have questions, I will monitor the chat. And so we may save some questions for the end, but also if they're relevant in real time, I'll try and monitor the chat and chime in with questions as they come up if I can. Thank you.
Great. Well, thanks again, Erin, for the introduction. So welcome to Social Media Marketing 101. Again, my name is Faith Anderson, and this is Amanda as well. So to begin, we are going to be focusing on a few different sections. So we're going to be focusing on identifying brand identity and voice. We've talked a little bit about, some of our approaches and some of our passions when it comes to working with lawyers and law firms is really thinking about brand identity and voice and how you're really communicating to your potential clients. We'll be talking about social media strategy and give you some of our tips and tricks for really creating a consistent social media content calendar. We'll talk about content marketing in general, not just thinking about social media, but how it works on more of an omni-channel level. So thinking about email, thinking about e-cards, thinking about how you can really bring social media into a full circle. Then we'll be looking at analytics and reporting, and then we'll be talking about trends and tools that we'd love to use for a lot of our clients.
Awesome. Yes. And so the purpose of today is to obviously make sure you guys walk away with information and resources that you guys can implement into your firms today. So we'll go over the importance of social media in the legal field. As we know, it's virtually impossible to be able to have a firm and have no social media presence, especially when we're battling algorithms to show up in Google and Bing searches. And so just a couple of facts here, one from Thompson and one from the ABA, is 74% of consumers are on social media, and they use their various devices in helping make those purchasing decisions. Even if it's deciding on following the funnel and entering into a relationship with an attorney, they're probably going to look at your firm online first. And then there's a large percentage, 35%, and it's continuing to grow, of lawyers who gain clientele through people who look at their social media, their Google searches, and all of their online presence. So one of the main concepts that we talk about with law firms and throughout the industry is building that trust and credibility with our clients. We want to share our client testimonials. We want to talk about the different perspectives we have in the industry as thought leaders. We want to ensure that we're sharing our insights and positioning ourselves as the voice of truth for our client base and our niche practice area. And then obviously we want to be the experts in our field, but we never want to ever say that we are the experts. The other reason is because we want to expand our brand and personal brand identities. So not only do you want to enhance your firm, but every lawyer also has a personal brand that comes along with it, and those relationships with their colleagues, with their referral partners, with different media outlets. And so making sure that we're always expanding our reach and visibility in a way that encompasses who we are personally and the culture of our entire firm. And then obviously strengthening our client engagement and loyalty. Having a social presence gives us the ability to act and be present where our audience is meeting us. It allows us to stay top of mind with our clients. It helps with cultivating referrals and deepens the relationships because there's a kind of a trending saying in legal right now where we're humanizing lawyers, right? We're making sure that our clients know that we are coaching our kids' soccer teams. We are going to conferences. We are approachable. We have the same interests, and just making sure that we are always creating that deeper relationship with our clients.
And just to kind of also go off of the importance of social media, things that we also have to be thinking about is we are in the new age of AI. And so one of the things that go into search engine optimization with AI, because a lot of people are actually looking at AI as more of their search engines. So they're going into ChatGPT or they're going into other kind of AI services. And one of the things that AI is looking at is some of those keywords, some of those kind of answers to questions that people might have, and they're actually taking it from social media. And so that's one of the ways that you could really be looking at the future of how social media really plays into the larger story of how people are finding lawyers and law firms in search as well. So now let's explore brand identity and positioning. So brand identity and positioning are so important because it really helps lawyers and law firms really define how they're perceived by their clients and the public. So there's a lot of components that build trust, and it really communicates that expertise that we all want to be really focusing on. So there's 3 components that I always try to kind of instill into a lot of our clients, and that's 1, brand voice and messaging. Are you developing a really clear, consistent tone that is reflecting your firm's values or your expertise or your approach? A lot of times people have to see your brand, hear your voice on social media at least 7 to 8 times for you to stay top of mind. And so that's why it's really important to stay that consistent when it comes to posting, when it comes to your brand message in general. The other thing that we always really stress is visual identity. So creating that strong visual brand that includes your professional logo, color palette, typography, photography style as well. We work with Erin doing her photos every year, and we want to really bring in kind of the playfulness that her firm has. And so you can be working with all different types of photographers who really bring your visual identity into play. The other thing is, if you are, a solopreneur, or you just run your own firm, things that you could do that are really easy is think about some of the filters for photography that you can use to stay consistent. Always having maybe even your logo on any of your pictures or even your photos that you have, so that if someone sees you in discovery on Instagram or on TikTok, they're always looking and seeing your logo on the content piece. So there's really easy things that you can implement on just a daily basis that helps kind of bring your visual identity into play in a consistent way. And then the third thing is your UVP, so your unique value proposition. So this is where you want to define what makes your practice really stand out. So whether that's specialized focus, it might be decades of experience, maybe your family has started this firm and this is the 50th year that you've gone into the family business. Those are things that you want to be focusing on. Maybe it's the philosophy that you have within your firm. Maybe your, client first sort of philosophy. Maybe you've been a part of some really groundbreaking case ones that you can share. Those are things that you want to be thinking about of, your unique value proposition. Other things that we've worked with an immigration law firm is just the way that they have a lot of touch points with their clients, that they have a really great way of communicating with their clients. They are a small firm, so they're really agile. They're able to really personalize it to their cases. So think about even the reviews that you have. What do people say who give you 5 stars? Is there a consistent sell-through line that people always go back to that you're known for? That could also be kind of your unique value proposition there.
All right. And then when we're talking about value propositions and then setting ourselves apart from our competitors, we really want to hone in on what really makes your firm culture special. And so 2 examples, very different niches, but here's a law firm where they really, really are a personal injury firm, but they're highly, highly specialized in food poisoning and Legionnaire's disease. So that is the main component of what they push in their marketing because that's really their niche. Although they do other types of cases, this is kind of their niche where they found like this is where we're different and this is where their clients are finding them is they're like, I have food poisoning and what do I do about it? Do I need an attorney because I have very high medical bills from long-term effects from it? So finding that niche and really digging into it can be very beneficial. Another niche area of law is franchise and dealer law. It's a big industry, but not a lot of people represent just one or the other side. So if you're in a niche industry, can we niche it down further to find your really expert way of being able to reach those clients where they really need it? All right, and then we'll move into your brand voice. And there are a lot of different tools to help you kind of define your brand voice, but this is where we really want to encompass and enhance your firm's personality, the personality and values of your staff, your attorneys, making sure that we're being client focused and centering the client and the services that we provide, and making sure that we're getting ourselves in front of the right audience. So if we're client focused, we want to have that type of messaging. If we're bold and aggressive, we want to make sure that we're getting in front of people who are looking for litigation attorneys who are forward thinking and in that aggressive space. So we tend to find that we want to use very strong adjectives such as approachable, authoritative, tenacious, empathetic, and making sure that it's aligning with what a client or prospect is seeing visually online to what they're reading and making sure everything is aligning. So when they walk in your doors, when they have that conversation with you, they're like, this is exactly who I was expecting to speak to. And then knowing where your audience is and meeting them where they're at. So making sure that if you're working at a client base, we don't want to be, seeming a little tone deaf or speaking at them. We want to make them feel like they're collaborating and they're a part of the journey that they're on because we know that, we hire attorneys when we're in a time of need. So making sure that we're speaking their language, we're meeting them where they're at, is a very big part of defining our brand voice. And so one example is with, with our work with Erin, we make sure that things are very warm and supportive when we're talking about certain services, but then we might be a little more polished and aggressive when we're talking about different services. And we're creating that consistency all the way across the board. It seems like there are a lot of moving points, but we make sure they're aligned and all the way across social media, website, your emails, your intake, your newsletters. It's going to be the same. So when your client and prospect see something online, it's what they see in your emails, it's what they hear in your voice when they call you, and it builds that trust and it helps generate revenue and make those prospects become clients.
So now let's get into social media strategy. So when it comes to social media strategy, we usually break it up into 4 different pillars. So the first pillar is content planning and creation, which sometimes can be the biggest headache because you have to be thinking, holistically about your brand and exactly what you want to be talking about, on a consistent and weekly, even daily basis. So thinking about looking at some of your content pillars. So breaking it up between educational, informative, more relatable, trending, maybe reels or short form video content pieces, of really breaking that into different content pillars. You can start placing it into a full content calendar that your team or you can stay up to date with. One of the things that we like to do with Erin and with a lot of our other clients is really put together like a full content calendar and be able to, share all of the captions and the graphics or, how we're going to be placing some of the photos into a post directly to them, and they can then, approve them when, events are happening or any awards are, awarded to them. We can put that into the content planner really quickly. The other thing that we always look at is audience targeting and engagement. So identifying and reaching the right audiences. So depending on, the type of firm that you are, where your demographics for your clientele really lean. A lot of the younger generation is on Instagram and TikTok. Some of the older generation kind of leans more even Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. Or maybe you're looking for, referral partners. And so LinkedIn is one of your kind of bread and butter platforms that you need to be on. So thinking about looking at your platforms in many different ways. You don't necessarily want to have the same exact post on every single platform, but thinking about, how am I using LinkedIn to really meet my goals as a firm? Or how am I using Instagram to really build top of funnel? So that means, looking at how we can create more awareness about our brand that then can push them down to bottom of the funnel that actually make a conversion to become a client. And so you definitely need to understand who your audience is and how you are targeting them based on the platforms that you're using. That goes into just platform usage. So again, selecting that right platform for your firm's goals. You might use LinkedIn professionally as a networking tool. You might use Instagram for more community building. You might use Facebook for more local visibility as well. The other thing that you can think about too is how you're using, your firm's business page versus all of the different managing partners or the managing partner and all the other partners within your firm. How are they individually using their social media as well too? And so you can be cross-promoting on individuals in your firm as well as the actual firm itself for more of their business pages. And then you always want to be looking back at the data. You want to be looking at the analytics and how you can actually be optimizing your social media. So tracking your performance across your platforms. And sometimes you might find like, hey, we're actually getting a ton of conversions off of this reel that we just posted. Like, how can we put and invest a lot more time into maybe short form videos? So tracking that performance across the platforms is really good too, because then you can really manage your time of where your investment should be going to. We always say you don't necessarily have to be all on every single platform, but think about what are the platforms that are going to be making my goals, and that again, our audiences are actually at.
I'm gonna just interrupt you there was a question
Mhm.
posted and it says, please explain the difference between community building and the other categories.
Yeah. So community building, I would say, what we like to do is on Instagram, this is where it's going to be that top of funnel. This is where you are going to be sharing who your brand is. Instagram can be really used as a way to showcase some of the kind of culture of your firm, some of the successes of your firm for people who might not necessarily know your firm yet. And so community building is all about kind of connecting with people that might be looking for your services one day, or maybe currently are looking for your services, and giving them kind of a high level view of what it would be like kind of working with you, or who they are actually working with if they hire you as a lawyer or law firm. Where LinkedIn, kind of more professional networking, you sometimes go into more in depth sort of focuses on some of your key areas, practice areas that you have, really looking at even thought leadership as a leader within the kind of niche that you're in. And so LinkedIn is more on that professional side for networking with other people. This is where a lot of our firms get referral partners or, a lot of referrals from, and just kind of knowledge base of what's happening within the spaces. I know for a lot of lawyers, they are even part of LinkedIn groups as well too, and so that's where you can be connecting with people within your same kind of practice area as well. And then for local visibility, Facebook's really great because one, Meta is the largest social media platform out there. And so you have a lot of ability to really localize a lot of your content through hashtags, through a lot of their back end of how you actually put together some of the tags, you can even localize a lot of your posts as well too. And so gives you the ability to just kind of reach people exactly in the demographics and the geographics, I guess, of where you want to meet them.
Yeah, and I would add one more platform on here when we're talking about community building, would also be using your Google My Business page as well, because that's where a lot of us get a lot of those testimonials and reviews. And it does create a sense of community when people are saying, family law lawyer in my area, and your firm is going to pop up because you've implemented all of these other aspects in your social strategies to make you visible to Google, that allows you to be the thought leader in that area of law. And so it kind of feeds into there too. So I would add Google as a good community building platform as well. Okay, and then here are just a few examples of the content calendars, posting cadences that we often like to use at DVC. It aligns the different types of pillars we want to fall into, making sure that we're providing real and relative information to the client base, making sure that we're being thought leaders by sharing practice areas, but then we're creating a sense of engagement by running polls and asking questions and showing different community events that we're involved in for volunteering. And so making sure that we're always following these different content calendars to make sure we're always meeting those pillars. And this is an example of what one of our content calendars would look like. It allows us to know as a team whether something has been approved, whether it's been posted, if it's in a review stage. And a lot of firms will use something similar like this, even in an Excel spreadsheet with their internal teams to kind of follow the funnel of where they're at with their monthly content cadence.
So going back to social media visual brand. One of the things that we like to do for a lot of our clients is look at how you can, start to place some of your content in a way that's really clean. So this is an example of a immigration lawyer. One of the things that you want to be mixing up is, photos. So photos from, clients that he has to kind of team as well too. So looking at, the culture of your firm, but then kind of breaking up, information through graphics. You don't want to necessarily be too graphic heavy, but you also don't, you want to be utilizing some of your reels or some of your photos in a way that really bring together more of a cohesive look and feel as well too. So some of the things, you want to be thinking about again are color schemes, the color palette. Does your colors reflect your website or your newsletters? I always kind of have, this idea whenever I approach different campaigns is you want to be leaving breadcrumbs wherever you go. And so if they see you on social media, on Instagram, does it reflect your website and vice versa? Or if they see an ad, does it then reflect the organic social plus, the website as well too? And so you want to be able to leave that kind of consistent, visual look and feel whenever you're creating some of your content as well.
All right, and next we will go ahead and get into content marketing. Content marketing can be a little scary because it can be a little time consuming, but there are tools out there to help us in our content marketing efforts. But one of the main things we want to focus on with content marketing is the ability to create content that's valuable, it's informative, it's entertaining to our clients. We like to do blogs, emails, videos, whether it's long form or short form, creating that trust and positioning our firms as being that leading authority in our niche area. This helps us to attract clients, it helps us to strengthen those relationships, and it also helps us to improve our online visibility, especially within social and search engines. And so three main things that a lot of firms focus on in their strategies are their email newsletters, their long form blog and article production, and then their e-cards, their greeting cards, which is a heavy thing for a lot of firms. In emails, the cadence can depend on your area of law, but sending out an email monthly, quarterly that provides legal tips, industry news, case updates, especially in cases that change law, whether locally or federally, answering those frequently asked questions, and if done correctly, also sending out emails recognizing those who are in best lawyers, best law firms, chambers and partners, in a way that centers the client and why the client is effective and making sure that they are recognized in some of these publications. And that also, again, it creates you as being that thought leader, the reliable source of truth, and helps build that referral funnel with both clients, prospects, and also different colleagues. The other form is blogs and article writing. So a lot of times in the legal field, our article writing is peer-reviewed. It's got a lot of statistical facts in it. It's good to share that on our blogs, but oftentimes we're also publicized in different journals and periodicals. And so making sure we're sharing that information on our websites, on our social platforms, writing blogs on our own about things that are going on in the firm, those big cases, those frequently asked questions. They help with not only just getting the information out there, but it boosts your SEO. So the SEO helps people find you when they're looking for a lawyer in your service area. If they're looking for your niche, that really helps with that inbound lead magnet through Google and Bing. And then cards are a big thing for firms. Most of us have moved to doing branded digital greeting cards. And we do them also for anniversaries. We do them for holidays. It happens to be for birthdays. If we are in a legal industry where we have a lot of clients that they'll come in for an instance, and then let's say they have a contract that has to be renewed in 5 years. Oftentimes, those are evergreen clients. They continue to come back. So sending out a card saying, hey, you know, it's getting to be time for your 5-year renewal on your contract, putting it out there. Let us know how you can help, how we can help you. It really does help humanize the firm, lets them know that, hey, we're thinking about you. We would love to help you, creates that loyalty and encourages a lot of referrals. The one thing I do see a lot of firms doing is moving away from just the holiday cards, but they'll send out a New Year's card. They'll send out a Thanksgiving card. They'll send out a Halloween card because they're not getting lost in all of the other cards that come around the winter holiday in December and January outside of New Year. So differentiating themselves by sending out cards at a different holiday throughout the year. And then these are just some examples of different firms that have used different e-services. There are a few different e-services online. Vivid Greetings is what comes to my mind first, but they create custom cards for their clients. Internally at DBC, we create custom cards for our clients to send out in newsletters and emails and things like that too. All right, and then the analytics and reporting. So there's a lot of information in analytics and reporting that we can get. And you can, subscribe to a company that will kind of give you a report on a dashboard so you can see everything at one point. But every platform has a free ability to go in, see what your analytics are every month, and show you kind of where your traffic is. And what this does is it tells us a story about what our clients are seeing. How are they coming in? What platforms are they coming in on? Is it Google? Is it Bing? If it's more Google than it is Bing, we might want to focus our efforts on that Google aspect. How long are they staying on our pages? What videos are they clicking on? We see a lot of engagement in social media on posts that are of the staff doing community work, volunteering, having lunch at a local restaurant, participating in a CLE, and a lot of behind the scenes things that are happening in the office. Those pieces of content tend to outweigh all of the rest. And it comes down to that ability to connect with the client and make them feel like they can relate. And then the next piece is going to be anything educational and informative, whether it's case law, whether it's, different, if there's a big policy change and you are in legal as someone who does a lot of lobbying, that might be a space where you are putting that out on your social media to keep people informed. So we find what people are looking at in here. We can find out what devices they're using. Are they using a cell phone? Are they using a tablet? Are they using certain keywords? Where do we want to make sure we're adding that in? And we can put those terms in our SEO. We can put them into our captions. We can utilize that for hashtag research. And so making sure we are always getting in front of the people that want to use our services.
So now we're going to explore some trends and tools that we love to use. So one of the biggest trends that is happening on all of the social media platforms is short form videos. We're seeing, from In the next few years, 80% of all of the content that will be on Facebook will be video content. LinkedIn right now is pushing Reels and it's pushing video content as well too. And so short form videos is really the future of content and how people, a lot of your clients and even referral partners are, looking at gaining information as well. So some of the things that we do with a lot of our clients is sending just lists of, questions that the firm can answer on their own time. And then we do all of the post-production. We cut it up, we put closed captions onto it, we put the branding onto it. And so then it's consistent for us to then be pushing out all of the content pieces. The other things that, you can be thinking about again is your FAQs. Do you have frequently asked questions, to your firm? Those could be video content pieces that you could be putting onto YouTube, that you put onto, TikTok or put onto LinkedIn. This will help with search engine optimization. This will help you be seen more, in discovery as well. So legal tips and FAQs, those are kind of some of the top things that a lot of people are searching. So you always want to be thinking about topics of like, what are people actually searching? What do people actually want to know? And create a video in a way that then gets people kind of hooked in to then, schedule a call with you to learn a little bit more about it. Other things that we've seen work is kind of the behind the scenes, day in the life. If you're doing a photo shoot or you're at a team lunch or a team dinner, of getting some video content that you could put into a reel that can go onto social media. Those are the content pieces that people love to see, whether that's a referral partner or even clients when you're looking at community building, putting that onto Instagram or TikTok, giving more of that personality feel to your brand. And then if you're able to, is looking at even client success stories. You might be able to get people to share videos of what it was like working with your firm. Testimonials are a great way for you to really showcase your reputation, showcase what it's like to work with you and your firm, as well as, what are people, investing in and helping them really make that decision to work with you a lot quicker as well. Testimonials, reviews, really strong piece of content that could be used in many different ways. You could be not only doing, short form videos, but you could also be doing, blog content around it, a series of posts as well too, when it comes to some of those success stories and testimonials. So here's examples of kind of two videos. The first one, this was something where, it was just a video of one of the managing partner just answering a question about Irish citizenship, and it actually went viral. I think it has 5.2 million views on it, and now he has about 25,000 followers on TikTok. And it was because they created a video that was specific to and relevant to what was happening. So it was basically a video about how you can get your Irish citizenship right now, so that you can be a dual citizen, a US as well as Irish citizen. And it was really simple. It was just a question that he would answer, that he answers almost every single day. And so you can just click on that just to kind of show a quick look at what it looks like. It might not. It doesn't show here, but basically this was just kind of a video just introducing who he was, what he does, and it could be, a type of question that you are constantly getting asked, just more of an intro, sort of intro video there. There's also kind of tips. So it might be, certain types of tips that you have within your firm that you're, constantly saying, or people have questions about. You can make a quick video content piece. There's a lot of really great platforms out there that, help with putting in those closed captions as well, too, that you can put your branding in. This is something that we do in our firm of all of the post-production. We can put even frames on your videos as well. So it's visually branded for all of your platforms as well, too.
And then this is just one example of those tips, how you can create just short videos with tips.
Yeah, the sound's not working, so you can just go to the next.
So those are just some examples of different types of content you can create. A lot of it is these frequently asked questions, which makes it really easy. And you can create this content just by using your cell phone or opening up a Zoom meeting of yourself and just recording yourself. So very easy. And then if you have a social team, you can just email that stuff to them and they can take care of, sparsing that stuff out. All right. And then reputation management. Reputation management is always a living and adapting concept within the legal field. We inherently get, reviews. We have publications writing about us. We have different journals. We have all these different publications who do awards and honors. And so we always want to stay ahead of the game and make sure that we are able to have positive reputation. And so there are many different ways that firms can do this. If you have budget, there are management tools such as Bird's Eye or Podium that will allow you to see mentions, reviews, and give you that feedback in real time. There are platforms that provide you, all of these platforms will provide you insights into your public perception. It shows your response times. It gives you anything, even if it's a negative comment, it gives you that, and you have the ability to respond to those. And doing, responses, whether it's a negative or positive review, it helps uphold the firm's credibility and it helps build client trust. And so when it comes to monitoring alerts, there are tools like Bird's Eye and Podium. They will track and monitor reviews and help you track comments across platforms such as Google, Yelp, Avvo, Facebook. And then if you're really focused on a local level, Google My Business also will send you notifications if somebody has left you a review. You can log into your Google My Business and you can respond from there. And within the platforms themselves, you also have the ability to, go in and manage those responses if you need to adapt them, whether it's positive or negative. And it's just a centralized location. And then they all provide some sort of analytics to you. So showing that client feedback, like I said, it gives you the insights of how quick your response time is. And it helps create that good public perception of what the general public thinks about your firm. And it helps you to find gap areas to improve service and quality, address certain concerns, and enhance your brand budget or your brand image. Now, I want to back up a little bit and talk about if you get a negative review, because this is a heavy topic for a lot of attorneys. If the negative review falls within certain categories, especially on Google, you can ask for removal. It is inherently difficult to get Google to remove them. But just going through their process and continuing to ask for removal. They did roll out a new phase. It's a long phase to get things removed, but if you have a legal reason to have it removed, they're allowing you to give give your case of why it needs to be removed. And it's not forcing people to have to go get a court order to get Google to remove it, which is costly and oftentimes not even worth the effort.
And I will just
So,
say courts will not do that essentially. Like they just
right.
won't. We've been
It's
through
so
this with
difficult.
the GAL, they don't do it.
Yeah, it's inherently difficult. So Google is now allowing this other phase without having to get court orders, but it's still a very long process. But worth it because people will look at the negative reviews before the positive, and getting ahead of them and continuing to work on them. You might not get those negative reviews the first time around or the second, but it could be the 8th, 9th, or 10th time. And so just staying on top of it and pushing it helps, and responding, having a good professional response where it's warranted is good. And having a conversation sometimes, if you're in an area of law where you think you can talk to this client and ask them what's going on, how can we fix it, sometimes we can actually get them to update their reviews if we can come to a mutual agreement to help them. Not always the case, but sometimes just asking them what's going on helps.
So Amanda mentioned Bird Eye and Podium. So there's a lot of tools that we love to use. So Bird Eye on that side for reputation management, but then there's also Clio Grow. Some people might be already using this, but this is a great way for you to do client intake forms and just stay in a good process with connecting with potential clients there. Hootsuite. So we use Hootsuite for a lot of our scheduling as well as analytics reporting as well too. So Hootsuite is a great third-party platform that's been around for a long time. And so it's really been able to build in different features that are great for small to mid-size businesses and agencies. So you're able to even schedule out on optimal times based on the platforms that you're using. Airtable, this is where we put all of our social media content calendars. And so we build out all of the captions, all of the graphic designs. This is where you're able to, connect even internally with your teams on your social media content calendar together and really collaborate on, the different content pieces that are going to go out. So Airtable is a great way to streamline a lot of your social media strategy. We also use Canva. Canva is a great, tool, especially for those who aren't necessarily graphic designers. And so this is a great way to utilize templates that are pre-built on Canva, or for you to even start placing in your own branding as well too. So you can put your fonts in there, your logos, your color palettes. And so if you hire a social media firm, or you hire someone from your team to take over social, you can have everything, all of the graphics in one place, and all of the branding also in one place. Google My Business obviously is a great tool. A lot of people are obviously using Google as a way to find their lawyer, or working with different law firms. And so Google My Business is one of the most important things that you'll need to have and be keeping updated as well too. And then Bird Eye that we've already mentioned as well. So there's a lot of tools that help you really streamline your social, like Hootsuite and Airtable and Canva, but there's also always, new tools that we always like to, take a look at. And, I'm definitely one of those people who love to just try out tools and then share with our clients of how we can make this a lot easier for you too. So.
Yeah, and one more tool I think a lot of people are using is ChatGPT or Copilot. If you're a firm, a lot of firms are using Copilot. These are great free tools to use when it comes to your social strategy, because you can ask it questions. You can use it to help you build a strategy. And so these AI tools really are great for marketing purposes. As long as it's being used in an ethical way. If your firm has an AI policy, obviously adhere to that AI policy. But making sure that you're not putting any client information in there, but it's great for creating captions or helping you brainstorm what kind of things and how people are viewing you and find your voice. Right, and I believe we can go into the chat and open it up to answer your Q&As.
So the one question I received was if you could provide what costs look like if people here wanted to work with your team. Or just what that process would look like. That was one of the questions that came to me.
Yeah. So it's all dependent on kind of the scope of work that you're looking at. So a lot of our packages, they start around $600 to $700 a month for just working on some content calendars, doing some captions, and helping with kind of getting out your social media. So posting and some of the community management side. However, there's a lot of other firms that work with us on more of a more omni-channel basis. So handling the email marketing, handling the social media, doing the post-production on video content as well too, helping them get onto podcasting. So that can potentially range around, $1,000 to $1,500 a month, depending on, what you're really looking at. The other thing is, we love working with lawyers and law firms. And so we try to also tailor it based on your needs. It might be something where we work with your internal marketing team where they handle, more of the print marketing. We handle more of the digital side. We work kind of in tandem to kind of take that off their plate as well too. So it's really dependent on, the actual scope of work that you're really looking at. But we also tailor it to your budget and to your, specific needs that you have.
Does anyone else? Those are the questions I had in the chat. So are there any other questions from anyone here? Cool. All right, and then Aviva, do you need to put up
Yeah.
anything
I'd like to just ask whether, if people don't have questions, whether there's anything perhaps that Amanda and Faith would like to add to it. I'd like to get people to get their full hour of credit. So we can get another, what do we got here? Another 8 minutes in, that would be good.
Yeah. So we sent over the presentation that you had that we just went through, but also we added in a little worksheet as well too. So in that kind of workbook, we've laid out, ways that you can really build the foundation of your social media. So that could be, from creating, your look and feel to some of the questions that can kind of spur, some content pieces individually for the platforms. I know there was a question that also just came up.
It says the video that went viral, where was it posted initially?
That was posted on TikTok. So TikTok is actually a really great platform to use, especially if you want to be building kind of, again, top of funnel. So brand awareness. So TikTok's kind of less regulated in the way that you're able to reach a lot more people a lot quicker in comparison to Meta and to LinkedIn. And so this is a place where, people are sharing, people are watching consistently or over and over and over again. So TikTok is a great place to really build kind of that top of funnel, that brand awareness there.
The next question is, what are ethical pitfalls to watch out for in marketing to avoid ARDC issues?
Amanda, want to take this one?
I can. Yeah, I think one of the, especially if you're using AI or you're putting things out on your websites and you don't have permission to share this information, whether it's due to the ruling in the case, arbitration rules for disposals, and of course the confidentiality portion, is really taking broad strokes. And I would go as broad to say, let's say I'm a franchisee and I've had a dispute with my franchisor and we've come to agreement not to talk about it, but the law firm wants to put something on their website. It could be as simple as saying, XYZ attorney had a successful settlement in a case related to a franchisor in an industry focused on head sitting. So it's not saying anything about who the franchisor is. It's broad enough to where they're not going to be able to dig in and find out what clients have filed lawsuits against their franchisors, because there are tons of them. The other place we would see this is in the medical field with HIPAA. I know there was recently a case where a firm had put out a social post about a case they had won, and even though they didn't use anything from the plaintiff or the defendant side, they left a detail about a medical situation, and it was a very, very rare situation. Somebody did some research and found out who it was. And so making sure it's very broad. If you are in a niche industry, making sure you're keeping it very broad. That will help you avoid those those ARDC issues. Oftentimes, there are industries where once a case is tried, it's public. And so if there's not anything in place for non-disclosure or anything like that, it's not an issue. But there are so many industries where it really is a true thing that you have to pay attention to. So keeping it very broad is going to be my best piece of advice.
And then,
oh, go ahead, Faith.
and I was just going to say, sometimes those pitfalls could be like misleading claims. So some things you might want to, try to avoid is saying best or like top guaranteed results. Like you don't want to be saying anything like that. Obviously, like no false comparisons to like other lawyers or law firms. And you want to be making sure that, there's no confidentiality breaches as well. Some other things, we get asked of like, having that line between like solicitation versus advertising. So you don't want to engage with like in-person kind of real-time solicitation of clients for profit unless it's like, you could maybe, close family or friends or something like that. But there's like be very cautious for like direct messaging or social media messages that are like soliciting for your services. So that's, definitely a big thing. You can't just ask someone as well to, call us directly.
And then the last question is, do you think it's detrimental to a firm to change your branding, logo, or colors after being in business for several years?
No.
I can.
Yo, do you want to go?
I was going to say, I don't think it is detrimental because firms are always evolving and adapting. The landscape of your clients are always evolving and adapting. And in fact, if you aren't keeping up with what's current, they might see you as outdated and not relevant. But there are fabulous places and branding agencies who will actually sit down with firms, because we know that, especially founding partners, like we know that that design and that concept of their firm is really living within them. And just changing it can be really heartbreaking to them. And there are people who specialize in listening to all of the shareholders in the firm, listening to what, prospective clients and the audience is wanting, and blending it and making it something that is a win-win for all parties. It brings it up into today's needs, but it's also encompassing what the firm culture was built on.
Yeah, I was just going to say working with kind of a branding agency, which we also do, of really, creating a strategy for a rebrand in a way that's, not totally different from what you've kind of built over, years, especially if it's, a really an older firm that people know this brand and know who you are. That's a superpower. So you definitely don't want to change it to a brand that's unrecognizable, but there's definitely ways that you could elevate it, especially really modernizing it into today's world, especially because it is so digital, and branding and consistency of brand is so important. So we also, if you're thinking of that, we also do that and help a lot of brands with that.
Okay, well, I want to thank Faith and Amanda for putting on a great class. I also, someone had asked about this, about the slide deck. So you might have missed the email that went out last night. It had the slide deck and also the workbook. So if you didn't get that, go check your email, get that. And I also want to thank Erin for moderating and for, of course, bringing us this great class, and the Women's Committee for putting this on their agenda. And also, we are planning next year's classes. So if people have any ideas for classes, certainly send us an email and let us know.
Yeah, thanks so much. Thanks to Faith and Amanda for coming. I mean, I will just tell everyone they're really great to work with. I've been working with them for probably like since my firm was a little itty bitty baby. Faith, I remember when we met at the Julius Meinl on Southport and
Yes.
Irving, as just right after my firm had gotten started. So I'm glad everyone got to hear their wisdom. So thanks so much for joining, everybody.